All right, let's speak now to Bulelani Phillip, SABC News reporter who's been on standby watching that ad hoc committee for us. Bulelani, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. Certainly quite startling that she says it's in the affirmative when she is asked if the minister was in fact under pressure, saying that she doesn't believe he made the decision alone and it may just have been political interference.
Well, good evening to you, Bongiwe, and to the viewers at home. Of course, the keywords that are coming out of the testimony by Lieutenant General Hilda Senthumule is that there was a level of interference as well as a lack of consultation from on-leave Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Of course, that also plays into other testimonies that have been put before the ad hoc committee, including that of Lieutenant General Matlala as well as General Masemula. So you'd understand that it's quite important that she makes mention or she gives testimony regarding to the disbandment of the political killings task team, because she was the person who was actually sent to actually receive the dockets that were handled by the PKTT. Of course, in her view, as I've said, is that she felt that there was interference in operational matters by the police minister, and she says that had there been consultation, there could have been a different outcome, given that because the directive had been issued on New Year's Eve on 2024, she felt that if there was consultation before that, the minister could have came at a different conclusion. But again, General Senthumule also disputed a testimony that was put before the ad hoc committee by Minister Mchunu, which suggests that after 2022, the PKTT's operations were irregular, and Senthumule has actually disputed that testimony, saying that the then interministerial committee had actually said that the PKTT needs to be recapitalized, as well as also its term being extended. She says she doesn't know anything around the issue that the PKTT was irregular. So the testimony of hers is going to actually fit into the bigger puzzle on the evidence that has been put forward by Matlala Masemula, as well as Dumisani Khumalo. Bongiwe.
And it's interesting, Bulelani, you know, when you speak about puzzles, right? Because in the Matlala Commission, which is a parallel process, of course, that is taking place, probing the allegations by Lieutenant General Senthumule, that we got to hear about this party at General Sibiya's house, where she was. And it was said that she would have been familiar with the, Mr. Cat Malala, his wife, and all of that. But today, she tells a different story.
Well, Bongiwe, that kind of testimony actually wants to make a linkage in terms of whether, as a senior cop within the South African Police Service, did she receive any benefits from Vusumuzi Cat Malala? You'll recall that the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner, Shadrack Sibiya, did testify before the Matlala Commission that Senthumule had allegedly been paid for a cosmetic procedure by Mr. Matlala. Of course, she came out quite vehemently to say she denies those allegations. In fact, she says that she actually financed herself that cosmetic procedure. And then the Honorable Julius Malema, the EFF leader, said that after hearing those allegations, what did she do? And she says that after this testimony, she had been on an ongoing consultation with her legal team, and she intends to actually lay a criminal complaint against Sibiya, as well as take a legal action. Of course, that particular testimony, again, she says that it has actually affected her family life, because she was due to appear last week on Tuesday, but the Sunday before then, she has told the committee that her son had actually tried to commit suicide because her mother had been a laughingstock because of this Brazilian butt lift. So she's denied that she had any dealings with Cat Malala, and she actually says that she only knew of Cat Malala after his arrest. So those are the issues that have been coming out of this ad hoc committee. Bongiwe.
And she also admits to lapses in judgment and, of course, at the end there, in fact, receiving quite a cordial response from some of the MPs there, including the chairperson. But another person coming into the hot seat, coming back, that is Fadiel Adams, and he has had quite a lot to say thus far. So it seems that tonight again, we may be in for more of the same.
Well, Fadiel Adams, the leader of the National Coloured Congress, will continue his testimony when the Ad Hoc Committee reconvenes at 8 o'clock. Of course, he's going to finish his testimony answering questions of lawmakers, given that his previous testimony was not finished. So he's actually going to be testifying around the issue that relates to him having alleged private information and confidential information of crime intelligence. And the questions really will be around the issue whether why did he get this information, how did he get it, and as well, given that one of the packages that was put under his door had said that this is a highly sensitive information, but he then did actually approach the Inspector General of Intelligence with that, with a view of investigating some of what he calls illegal operations by the crime intelligence officers.
And Bulelani, as a final one then, let's look at the Inspector General, because there's now the contention that, you know, some MPs, for example, you listen to Julius Malema wanting to see him appear before the committee. At the same time, you still have a committee that is racing against time in order to be able to finish its work.
Well, Bongiwe, that one is a tricky one, given that the suspended Inspector General of Intelligence, as I've said, was suspended some time ago, and he had actually written to President Cyril Ramaphosa as well as the Justice Minister seeking a permission to give testimony before this ad hoc committee, but that kind of application has since been denied. But you'll recall that the reason why the committee is interested in Imtiaz Fazel's testimony is that based on the complaint that was laid by Fadiel Adams, he had actually undertaken an investigation, and that investigation has actually been completed, and I guess the members of Parliament would have been keen to get an understanding what is contained in that IGI report. But as things stand now, Imtiaz Fazel, the Inspector General of Intelligence, will not be coming here anytime soon, given that he does not have permission to actually be here, and as well, I guess they would await the conclusion of his suspension, and that's the issue as things stand now.
Bulelani, thank you so much for that.